Hello, hello, everybody. I am here with Aubrey Harrison. He is a mental health therapist that is dedicated and passionate about helping men have a safe space to be vulnerable.
hmm
I am so excited about him being part of the Global Self Care Reset Summit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aubrey, please introduce yourself.
I'm so excited to be here. So, hey everyone, I'm Aubrey Harrison. I am a therapist at the Y Center at MedStar Georgetown Hospital, and also finishing my PhD in clinical psychology at George Washington University. And so I do a lot of work related to men's health, specifically men's mental health. And this weekend at the Global Health Summit, I will be talking about a lot of strategies to help men as they go through many of the issues that are currently plaguing our society globally. And, just really how to help ourselves, how to do some self-care practices, and really how to focus on our mental health. It is one of the most important things that we can do. A lot of times we don't think about that. So I'll be talking about it. Hope to share some tips. I recently did one group last week that was really helpful for a lot of men on just an ability to process and be vulnerable about how they were feeling. I have a couple coming up this weekend in the Global Health Summit that's coming up on Saturday. And so I'll be talking more about just how do we release, how do we process, and how do we actually move forward in our lives so that we are successful, so that we can be vulnerable and actually use our emotions and use our feelings to actually thrive in this society versus, suppressing some of the things that we may go through. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I hope to see many of you all on Saturday. It's going to be an exciting time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I am just putting up some things in the chat. And all right, so you've met Aubrey. Now, I think you can understand why he's a part of the summit because he's been doing his work for a while and he's still learning and growing. I love people that are always students. And because you can get one level of education, but life gives you another level of education. And there's so much new innovation that comes. So what are some of the things that you're learning now that we can apply to restoring a sense of calm in our person during these pandemics, these like multiple pandemics?
Right. I think without giving too much away from the summit, I think one of the biggest things that we can focus on is some form of self-care. And I'll talk about a lot of different tips that are related to self-care. But mentally, it's important to think about how our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors are all connected. And so if we focus on how we're thinking, right, and then how that relates to how we feel, and then how we actually act that out, those are the things that really impact our day-to-day lives. And so I'll be talking more about that. But that's one tip. We have to just focus on ourselves, have a sense of self, have a sense of understanding of what we are actually going through. And especially in these multiple pandemics, right? COVID-19 being the biggest one right now, right? Where it's affecting many people's lives in a multifaceted way, right? The way in which you work, the way in which you live, the way in which you interact with other people, that really shifts kind of our day-to-day lives and how we think about what we're supposed to be doing. And then the other pandemic that's kind of going on, at least in the United States, is really a racial pandemic, right? And so it's really hitting home right now in the United States, but it does extend globally, right? Because racism affects so many different people and so many different minority groups. And we really have to be able to talk about that and address it so that we can move forward in society. So I'll be talking about just some tips, not only to help again about like how do we take care of ourselves during one pandemic, but two pandemics. And this is new for many people. how to deal with a pandemic, right? A lot of people haven't been through an actual pandemic for themselves, or they felt like they've been living through maybe a pandemic, but haven't been able to actually put it in words, right? So I can't wait to really talk about that and just help.
No, I appreciate that. And Aubrey, I think we're going through three because you have the actual pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not just a virus, but it's also job loss
Right.
or going from being in a brick and mortar to your home with
Mm-hmm.
your children and your families, right? So that's
Right.
a scenario. Then you have the racial injustices that are felt globally
Mm-hmm.
for marginalized people. Then thirdly, there's a new normal that we don't really know how to be in yet because
Right.
it's still unfolding. This new normal is not normal.
Right.
You're either, if you do still have a job, you may still be at home, or you may
Mm-hmm.
have to go back to work. But then there's all this idea of an illness that doesn't have any type of containment.
Right. Right.
So you have those, okay, and then you're leaving your home if you're allowed to. A lot of places are under, they have like the guidelines. You have to be home by a certain time, and you can't travel from here to there. That's where I am. They're trying to contain this. So countries and cities and states are doing what they think is right, but everyone has their own way. So then it's like, how do I function? I can leave my house, but I have to wear a mask.
Right.
The mask doesn't really help me breathe very well.
Right.
So or if I have a pre-existing condition,
Mm-hmm.
then I may not even go out because I'm still nervous, even though I'm allowed to. So I feel like we have three pandemics happening simultaneously, and we're only in we're only halfway through the year.
Right. We're only halfway through the year.
Halfway through the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that we have to remember is that this is new. And with new things, we are continually learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to remember that it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. And we have to be able to acknowledge that. But then the process is, as you said, within three different pandemics, how do we move forward, right? How do we adjust? How do we accept that it's not okay right now? And it might not be okay for a while, but there are certain adjustments that we have to make so that we can be okay in the long run. I think about the Spanish flu. I think about the H1N1 flu. How they hit, and how that really changed people's perspectives back then, right? But then there was a normalization of like society where people got used to what that was. And so as we think about right now with COVID, I use that one as kind of like the base because that's really what is, kind of at the forefront globally. We have to think about how we are shifting our lives and what that might mean. But also how things might be looking a little bit different and could be good, So, spending time at home and how you might be spending more time with your family than you might have before, right? Also being able to work on different projects, being able to, have a second kind of like hobby that you're able to do. All these things that really impact our lives, but have impacted our lives in not only a bad way, but a good way, right? There's some good and some bad. And so I think, as we do this global summit and as we talk about it, specifically in my session for men, but this will translate not just for men, but for everyone in general. I'll kind of tailor it to really how men are operating right now. But I want men to be able to take this back to their families, to their kids, and really say, like, this is what I can do and what you can do too. And we can do this together to move forward. So
I love that. I love that. And yes, right. There are men and women that are looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
yeah.
So I'm glad you said it's not just tailored to men. meaning that it's a principle that's universal,
Hmm.
but you want men to apply this
I want men
specifically.
to, yes. Hmm.
Yeah, as we wrap up, why aren't men allowed to be vulnerable? And how do we shift that as a society to allow men to be vulnerable?
Yeah. You know, it's a big question. I think the way in which society has set up how men are supposed to operate, it is this idea that men are supposed to be hard, and men have to exhibit masculinity in a certain way. And so to be masculine means that you don't express your emotions. That's how society views it, right? And we have to shift that perspective, because to be masculine is actually to be able to express your emotions, right? To be feminine is to be able to express your emotions. These are things that are not, you know, basically gendered, but we've gendered them. And so we have to take those stigmas away. We have to remove them and really help people understand that, you know, it is okay to express your emotions. And for men, it is okay to express your emotions, because we have feelings too. And if we suppress those emotions, if we don't talk about those emotions, if we just put them, put them down in kind of the pit of our stomachs, then at some point they come out, but they come out in a way that is unhealthy,
Mhm.
for us and for everyone around us. And so that's why it's important, that we actually talk about this and have conversations that really promote kind of like the idea of talk about what you're going through, talk about your experiences, and what are some things that we can actually do to help ourselves and help others. So,
No, I appreciate it, and I'm so happy that you have like really cultivated this space, especially during this time. I know you had a forum a couple of weeks ago that was empowering, and actually we were talking about it here in Dubai, how there's a group that goes around and does this for men,
mm,
and I feel like, you know, when I see a man be vulnerable and cry or express emotion, that endears me to him even more, because it means like, because we have the female and masculine in our bodies. So, we should have both traits, and
mhm,
anyone that is more balanced is, I won't say best, but the goal is to pull into your masculine energy and your feminine energy, like for
mhm,
men and women.
yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to you helping usher in this new normal of men holding space for us women,
Mhm,
because a
right.
lot of times we're the ones holding space for you guys, which is, I think it's a privilege and a responsibility for me as a female. But I would love for this as this stuff starts shifting in the transformation. I would love for men to start creating that shift, whereas we're like, look, we hurt too, and we
Right.
are feeling this, and this is how we are processing it,
Right.
so we can our families
Right.
can be healthy.
Right. Because the best thing we can do as men is to be able to acknowledge our own emotions, because then that helps us understand others' emotions, right?
Mhm.
If we are not acknowledging our emotions and not acknowledging our feelings, then it makes it even more difficult for us to understand, the woman in our lives, right? Or the other men in our lives, or the children in our lives, right? The other individuals that we operate and interact with, we aren't able to actually access them and access their emotions, because we can't even understand and access our own emotions. So that's what this is all about, right? So that we then can hold space for women and say, I get it. I understand it. I hurt too, but I'm understanding why you hurt too. So, yeah.
I'm typing that in the chat, because men holding space for women. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Aubrey, please bring this in for us. Usher
I
this
will.
in,
I will.
please.
I will. I will.
I am so excited about you being part of the Global Self-Care Reset Summit. It's my honor and privilege to have met you and for you to say yes. And it's going to be the audience's honor and privilege to know what you have to teach them. And I'm so grateful.
I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be a part of it, and I can't wait to see, what comes out of this Global Self Care Reset Summit. So, looking forward to it.
Right. Well, is this the best way to reach you to get in contact?
This is the best way to reach me. You can definitely message me. I have a lot going up on my IG account related to mental health. So just keep watching. You'll be seeing a lot of content coming across very soon. So
Okay, so it's H._Aubrey
that's correct.
Harrison. Not on the IG, but that's the last name.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. And you're on the first day. You're on a Saturday.
That's right.
The 27th. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll be there, and I'm looking forward to everybody that's going to be joining because it's going to be a great session. Yeah.
All right, Aubrey. So thank you so much for your time and for being a part. And see you in 2 days.
See you in 2 days.
All right. Peace.
Bye.